People, we back. Part two.
Yo,
Yeah, you already know what it is. We talk about mental health, but we're going to expand a little bit today because I felt that yesterday we kind of got into a heavy, not heavy, but a deep topic in evolution and how that affects us mentally. Because we always think about evolution in terms of Charles Darwin and natural selection and physical evolution, but we don't think about it in terms of our minds, our mental evolution. And I think that's just as, if not more important, because the way we interact with the world today, we evolve with technology, we evolve physically, but if we don't have the mental capacity to use these tools, then it's all going to be for naught. We're just going to be running around like kids with guns, not understanding that we have this mental power that we need to kind of get under wraps. So we're going to do a little evolution part two today. And in today's topics will be memes. We'll talk a little bit about feedback loops, talk about biomimicry, and then a little bit about some of that metacognition, how we think about what we think about and what that means. So stick around. We're gonna give y'all some gems. And yeah, so how you doing today, brother? We back. We back.
another one.
Another one.
And bro, I just want to give you your roses while you're here. And
Man, that's love.
I just want to say thank you. I want to say love. I want to say keep growing, keep evolving. And when I speak to you, bro, it's more so speaking to the soul of you than the person, and to say that we're connected in the soul. And as we're talking about this topic of evolution, are we becoming more connected to each other or more disconnected from each other? What are we evolving to? And I just want to let you know, bro, I feel you. We connected. Let's keep building. Let's keep shining.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Man, that's love. Let me throw you some roses too, man, because honestly, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you kind of pulling me along sometimes, because I don't want to do this all the time. It's sometimes where I just feel like people don't want to listen. But then at the end of the day, it comes back to, what am I supposed to do? Should I still spread this message, even if it's one person that really feels it? You know what I'm saying? And so really at the end of the day, it takes two. And I feel like the energy that you bring just makes me feel more excited to do this than I would if I was just trying to do like a monologue on my own. If y'all can see, I got a little whiteboard behind me. We might get a little professorial, educational today. So we'll see how the conversation goes. But there's a couple ideas that I think are really big ideas that I want to make sure that we kind of key in on today, just to make sure that we kind of really understand that evolution is not something that is only physical. And this is not just something that is like a spiritual out there, esoteric. This is real life. Like this is scientific. Like there's actual researchers that are working on this. And I just want to kind of put it in a way that maybe helps a few more people understand it. Before we get into that, yesterday we were talking about the flywheel. We were talking about this idea of feedback loops. And I wanted to just direct it back to you in that regard, because we said, in order to grow, you have to listen and test, and then you learn, right? And so I was just thinking like, oh man, like how do we, like, what is the process that we go through today that maybe like, why aren't we on that path? Like, what are we actually doing that kind of deviates from that? Like, are we, like, is there a part of this feedback loop that's cut off? And like, maybe in your opinion, what are we actually doing and what do we need to do better in order to get to a place where we're learning and growing and actually becoming more ourselves and better at that?
As I'm looking over to the left, I see a board that I just wrote notes on. And the notes are scattered everywhere. Some of them are big, some of them are small letters. Which one are you paying attention to? And that's how it is in the world. What are you paying attention to? And it gets to a point where in reality there are a lot of stimulus now. How can you even hear what you necessarily need to hear when everything's being blasted from different opinions, different point of views? And it's like, are these even the right things, or are just people just making noise? We've got to really get to the point where we're silent. And not to piggyback off of our last discussion, but that was a very important one that many people miss on the step of growing. It's just being silent to hear what is next for us, me and you. Like, our discussions when we talk, it's not that we have it all written down, but the fact that we just listen to each other, and then the direction comes in which we speak into, which helps us grow on even our next topics. Like, we don't have any of this planned as far as what we're going to talk about next week. Well, as far as me,
We just got a
just
little
feels
outline, but
yeah,
nothing crazy. It's really just
you
kind of
know.
going off of the energy that we feel in the discussion.
And there it is, the energy. What type of, how can I say it, power to move you? What moves you? What is moving people now? What is the flow? What is the current of trend? And like you said, people can get lost in that if they don't have any direction and get pulled, get swayed. So now it's like I see like a flow river is just rushing through, and the water are literally thoughts. Every single molecule of water is a thought. You put them all together, it becomes a tidal wave, and then it's like you're gonna drown in it if you don't know how to swim. So it's like people are literally drowning, being hit with tidal waves of information that's necessarily not even helpful in some cases.
Man, that's real. And that leads me actually perfectly to this idea of the way we evolve, because a lot of us are evolving to not get hurt. It's like this idea that we're playing defense. A lot of us are playing defense, spiritual defense, where we're not really sure of ourselves. And so we're just trying to build up these walls around our being in order to keep ourselves feeling safe. But really, what are we doing? We're walling ourselves in, the same way that we talked about in the last episode with comfort zones being a good place, but nothing ever really growing there. If you're walling yourself in, you're literally boxing yourself in, then how are you supposed to expand? And that just isn't just like a cool metaphor. This is real life. If we don't understand that we have to expand outwards and really begin to recognize what is real and what isn't, the second we wall ourselves off from the rest of society, from the rest of the world, because we think we have it figured out, is the second we start to die. The second we start to really, it's almost like you stop the evolution process. You unplug the computer, you unplug whatever, and you just you start to coast. But what happens when you coast? You start slowing down. Even though you feel like you're still moving, you're slowing down, which means that the cars on the other side of you on the highway are passing. And now you're at this point where you have to make a decision. Are you trying to move forward, or are you going backwards? And so there's this idea that I think that is really, really pivotal. And I want to hit this one. And I might just write this up on the board right now just to kind of get a sense of it. But a lot of times when we think of evolution, again, we think of the physical, right? And the physical evolution is genes, genetic. And so we have, I was even writing right now, evolution, we got genetic, but then there's another type of evolution which we don't talk about, and that's the memetic. All right, so the first four letters in genetic, G-E-N-E, is gene. The first four letters in memetic, M-E-M-E, is meme. And we all know what a meme is, right? We see them all the time on the internet. What we don't know is that a meme is actually a piece of information. And the same way that a gene is a piece of information that informs our DNA, a meme is a form of information which then impacts the way that we think. And if we don't take more account into these different memes, and a meme isn't just a picture with the words on it. A meme can be anything from a post or a video or an idea that you get from just looking outside. It's a lot more expansive than what we've kind of condensed it into. It's the same way we talk about how can you reduce a complex being into this binary code. We've done the same thing with memes, where we think that a meme is just something that you see on a computer screen, but really it's anything that is an idea. And so these memes really inform our development. And there's one thing that I wanted to show to people in case they're gonna dip out early. I wanted to share my screen with you because there's a picture that I saw that really kind of puts this together. And it's this idea that really, there's a couple of things here. We as a species are evolving upwards. We started at this stage of survival. And this was probably, I don't know, 200,000 years ago. We were at this satisfaction of primary need stage. And what that means is that we were just trying to survive physically. That was the first level. When you go up a level, you get to the stage of kinship, which is where you start to understand that you need each other. So there's this sense of security. It's more tribal, right? And then you get up to this age of action and passion. And that's where you have the more kings and the more like rulers that are in charge of entire swaths of land, but that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. A lot of people think that we're in this fourth stage right now, somewhere between the fourth and the fifth stage. The goal is to get to here, holistic, where we're all interconnected with each other. The way you just said that we kind of connected, and even as we speak, we becoming more connected, is the same way that as a society, we're supposed to grow into this stage where we are all interconnected. But right now we're still kind of stagnating around here. As you can see, this is where you have kind of these ordered, structured, moral type of systems. And then over here is where you have these success-driven type of systems. And I think a lot of people would probably put us in that success-driven. So a lot of us are really ego-driven. We're trying to win at these temporal games. We're trying to do things on this plane of reality that can help us advance. But what is that actually doing for our souls? What is that actually doing for our spirits? What is that actually doing for us evolving? And so essentially what I feel like is supposed to happen, and I talked about this last time too, is that we have there's this system developed by a scientist called Clare Graves. And he was inspired by some guys named like Abraham Maslow, which a lot of people know from psychology class. But Clare Graves came up with this idea called spiral dynamics. And that's essentially what this is showing us here. And another picture to kind of put this in another perspective is this one, spiral dynamics. Don Beck was somebody else who was working with that guy. So essentially you have at the bottom here, the different forms of society. And right now, we're probably somewhere in the middle. What we want to get to is a people-driven, process-oriented, and then that synthesis of everything together where it's holistic. Remember when I said yesterday, it's not about transcending and forgetting about the old, the same way the caterpillar grows, and it's not like it just forgets everything and it just says, oh, I hate the caterpillar. Essentially, it becomes a butterfly and it incorporates all of those lessons from the days it was a caterpillar in order to become an even more adept butterfly. And so the way I visualize it is almost like a spiral. And as that spiral goes up, it gets wider.
Yeah.
And so each level incorporates the level below it. And so in a sense, we're not just evolving past our old selves, we're evolving with our old selves. And I think that in a lot of ways, we forget that there are so many ways that we can really grow and really become more ourselves, that we think it's all just this one thing, that it's all just, oh, as long as I'm got the latest, iPod, or as long as I got the best information, I'm good. But really and truly,
I'm connected.
that is so small of a piece of the puzzle. And we have to start understanding that there's so much more. And so that's just a general, just a viewpoint. And it's not necessarily, like, as I said, science is always growing. We're always going to start developing new ideas. This is just something that really caught my mind in terms of how ideas develop and build on top of each other. And it could be something that maybe sparks something in somebody else, where the next time you see a meme, you think, oh, maybe this isn't just like a passive piece of information. Maybe this is something that's now being incorporated into my being. I need to think, what kind of music and TV shows and ideas and what kind of things am I allowing into my mind? Because those things are going to form the foundation of who you will be tomorrow. And I think that's just a really important point to drive home. I don't know what you think about that, if that even made sense, because I didn't really, obviously, I don't plan this stuff out maybe as much as I should, but I just kind of was going off on a riff there for a little bit. So let me know, how does that sound? Like, did that even make sense to you, or what do you think about that?
I understand completely.
Beautiful. I'm glad.
On the ideas, the God.
Oh man, I'm
you
losing
can see
you,
it in flowers. Yeah, I'm going in and out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yo,
It's all good. I kind of heard
it's
you
real
though.
funny now.
You were saying something about flowers and God and how that
Yeah,
kind of.
I kind to the golden ratio, which it's a mathematic equation where you add equal parts to the funding, equal parts to it, just continues. So 1 + 1. The last part that you added, which was 1, so 2 + 1 = then you add it again, 2 = then 5, 8. So mentally, that never really delete in your mind are still a part of you, and it makes up the whole essence of where
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. That's a really good point too,
How
with the
people
golden
look at you.
ratio, in terms of how it actually, like,
Yeah.
because it's incorporated, not just like we see it in mathematics, but we also see it in nature, right? It's kind of crazy because we see it in, like, the way we were talking about biomimicry. And I actually got a book right here called Designing Regenerative Cultures. And it talks a lot about this idea of, in biologically inspired design, systems thinking, health and resilience, transformation, innovation, all that stuff. And there was one part that was talking specifically about the idea we said yesterday about biomimicry, where we were talking about how we get a lot of our design inspiration from nature. And one of the things that they talked about, let me find it real quick, there's this idea that, and this is a quote from the book, it says, globally, we are at the cusp of a biologically inspired transformation of how we do business and innovate. Serial entrepreneurs and inventors such as Jay Harmon show how bio-inspired design is already transforming industries, cities, the way we think, the way we interact. We're talking about the cutting edge. Maybe it's not mainstream yet, but this is what's going to become mainstream. And if you can get ahead of the curve and understanding how these systems work, then you're ahead of the curve of society. You start understanding these things before they even come out, because you just walk around in nature and you see the solutions. And so the way that we evolve is not necessarily the way that we have evolved in the past. The way we evolve now is by being intentional and engaging with the world around us and realizing that all of these different parts are connected. When we get to that place where we realize that everything is everything and everything is connected, then this ball can start rolling real, real fast, bro. Things like We talk about metacognition. So that's the active insight of thinking about what you're thinking about. We talked about things like growing from a place of action instead of passiveness. And what does that even look like? Like, these are just all ideas. I'm just throwing ideas out, and hopefully one or two of them stick with somebody who's listening. Because at the end of the day, the way that we're going to get past this stage in society, this kind of power-driven stage that we kind of looked at earlier, the only way we get past that is if we realize we need each other. And we realize that, look, maybe we don't all fundamentally agree on everything, but what we can do is begin to try to understand each other. And when we do that, what comes next? Maybe we start to grow. Maybe we start to understand. Maybe we grow past that data to information. Maybe we get past that information to knowledge. Maybe we get past that knowledge to wisdom. Maybe we get past that wisdom and graduate to love. And that really, I think, is the end goal. That's what we should all be doing, is getting from survival mode and getting to holistic mode. I lost him. Dang. We still recording this too. Hey, we gonna figure this out, y'all. The enemy is busy, but God is busier. So if we got to do this one again, we will. I'm gonna go ahead and send another invite to Willie and see what's going on. But I hope y'all feel me a little bit. This might just be a short one. We might just publish this one like as is, or we might do another one, as I said. But let me go back and see what's going on with Willie. I'm gonna leave the I'm gonna leave this up on the screen so that y'all can look at it while I'm looking for Willie. 1 second. He said, man, technology. Yo, it's all good, bro. No sweat. Y'all already heard the main ideas, though. I feel like most of y'all can go out and learn about this on your own, right? Like, you don't need me to tell you everything because I'm not any smarter than you. I just like to think about things longer than, like, what did Einstein say? He said, I don't necessarily think I'm smarter than anyone. I just stick with problems longer. That's how I feel about a lot of this stuff, man. Oh, wait, I was sharing the screen. Y'all probably saw all my business. Dang, that's crazy. Anyway, let me go ahead and try to add Willie into another one. I mean, y'all see it, right? Like we not out here over planning and trying to get everything looking pristine. We just literally want to tell the people what's going on. That's it. This isn't a case of, oh wow, they trying to be all whatever so that they can get the attention. No, man. I was chilling. Y'all see me, bro. Matter of fact, let me button up. I was literally on the couch 20 minutes ago. Willie hit me up like, yo, you want to do a part 2? And I'm like, man, let's do it. This is how we're doing it, because I feel like at the end of the day, this is important to get out to the people. And if we got enough energy behind it, then let's do it. Obviously, as we continue to grow and evolve, these will become a little bit more consumable and hopefully shareable in the future. But really, we hashing out these ideas in real time. We're trying to figure out what is real, what isn't. And ultimately, when we get there, we'll get there and you'll be there with us. So hopefully y'all appreciate that we taking some time out, trying to at least give a little bit of gems, give a little bits of education. Matter of fact, let me show y'all a little bit of this real quick again. Because I think this is kind of interesting. When you have this integral system of development, what you get is essentially, all right, so we start off with the beige values, right? Automatic, instinctive. This is the things that you do without even thinking. So when you're talking about survival mode, that's what that is. That's when you're talking about the concrete jungle, that's what that is. When you're talking about fight or flight, that's everything in this beige color right here. Now, when we start talking about awareness, what did we talk about a few weeks ago? When we start talking about awakening, or, I mean, what are we talking about this whole thing? Then we get into this tribalistic. And that's not the end goal, but at least we evolving, right? Next stage, boom. We understand that we need each other a little bit more. Then, okay, emergence of the ego. Ooh, we start seeing power as a means to an end. Ooh, what does that sound like? Look, I'm not saying we've completely even passed this red stage. Matter of fact, we might still have one foot in there, one foot out, because this is where all of those exploitative types of memes start to emerge, right? This is where you got your Trumps, folks that are all about power for power's sake. You're authoritarians. Actually, that might be a little more in the blue for the authoritarians, because then we start getting to this place where we need structure and everything needs to fit into this plan that I made, right? This almost sounds a little bit like the communists as well. This is where you get these structure, whether it's fascist or communist, whatever side of the spectrum you want. I don't want to, actually, I've already made somebody mad, but here we go. Essentially, what you're getting is just this absolutist types of ideals, these things that don't really allow for any flexibility, but really what they do is they just make all of us fit in, right? And then finally, you start to get to this orange stage. Maybe this is more where Trump is, ironically, the orange values. And this is where we get to that place where we're trying to achieve materially. We're only looking at the physical realm. We're saying, how can I play at this game that is temporary, but how can I advance on this level of the playing field? And then we talked about things like discovering material wealth and how that doesn't necessarily correlate to our spiritual well-being. These things are not divided from us. Again, all connected. That beige state of just survival mode, understanding that that fight or flight instinct isn't something that's bad. It's something that we had to have to survive. And that's how we get to this place of transcend and include, not just transcend and forget, right? And then we finally get to this place where we're starting to understand that, look, society, the people, the systems that we are creating, that's what's important, right? Not necessarily just making money, but creating a world where everybody can thrive. And that's where we start looking at humankind, human flourishing. And that's where I think we're almost on the cusp of that right now. We got people starting to think in that way, where the memes that are starting to push up through the ether are things that are people driven. Social networks, right? Like, what is the world that we're in today? Is dominated by social networks. But these social networks are still kind of formed through this success driven paradigm instead of fully in their own bag of being community driven. What did that whistleblower say a couple of days ago? That these social networks are in fact putting profit before people. And so when we don't have social networks that are actually for the people, then what do we get? We get things like Instagram and Facebook that are doxing people for saying the wrong opinions, that are canceling folks for this, that, and the third, instead of incorporating different perspectives to allow us to gain a greater understanding. And I'm not going to go too far into the yellow and the turquoise because we still got to get here first, but you can kind of see how this all works together to create a new type of thinking. And I just want you to get that in your head. This is all about new ways of thinking, changing our minds to become more evolved. And it's all connected. These systems are all connected. We got Willie back. I'm gonna go ahead and get back into the non-screen sharing part, but I just wanted to give y'all a little bit more in depth on that. Essentially just giving us some more sense of what I was talking about. Because when you just look at a spiral and you see me say memes, it might not make as much sense, but I just want to kind of give y'all a little bit of my heart and what was on my mind because I feel like it's somewhat important. And if you can take that and run with it and just do a Google search for yourself and figure out maybe what part of this kind of vibes with you, then that'll be dope. But we got you back. How you feeling, bro? Are you okay? We got you back in the cut.
Man, can you hear me? Is everything good? Like, yeah, we got you. Yeah, and to say that we're just trying to connect, bro. And you would think it would be easy with all these technological advances. Yeah. Like, you think that it would be easier since we evolved and have tools that make it easier to see somebody across the world.
It is crazy though, man. I mean, and I was saying that too when you popped out. I'm like, yo, y'all gotta understand, we just out here trying to give y'all the real. And now you can kind of see behind the scenes a little bit. They can see that, look, this isn't something we're trying to make it all pristine and nice and neat. Like, yeah, we're gonna get there eventually to where it's more consumable and more shareable. But at this moment in time, we're just trying to give the people the information that's real. Like, look, Willie's all the way over here, y'all. All the way over here, y'all. Like, this is tough. Okay, we trying to figure it out as we go. So just have some grace, have some mercy for us. We appreciate y'all even sticking around if you're still here. But let me just give y'all a couple more questions to chew on before we get out of here. We talked about biomimicry. We talked a little about that metacognition. We talked a little about the memes and the ideas and how there's really is levels to this thing. One thing that I really wanted to hit on and that we maybe didn't fully flesh out was that idea of biomimicry. And I want you to maybe speak on this a little bit, maybe some experiences either you have. You talked about the golden ratio and how that kind of impacts our thinking and the way that that is both in nature and in mathematics, and all these things kind of connect. Maybe you could repeat that a little bit, because that's part of where you started maybe cutting out a little bit. So talking about that idea and maybe some of the things that are on your mind with that.
To say that everything is here for a reason, and not all information comes from you sitting in a desk with the teacher explaining things to you. The greatest information I received was sitting at the pond, was walking through the woods, listening to butterflies flutter. And then it opens my eyes to see how nature responds to, let's say, a catastrophe. What does it do?
That's a really good point, bro. I don't want to cut you off, but it's crazy when you say that, because like, what is a wildfire, for example? You have wildfires that happen in forests, but those are almost a part of the process of nature healing. You have to go through that period of cutting down, of burning down, in order for the new growth to come up, or else you have forests that are overpopulated. And then when a fire comes, it takes out the entire forest. Whereas if you have sporadic little flames that take out overgrowth, then you have new plants, new growth that can actually thrive. And so maybe part of the process of our growing is snipping off parts of those things in us that don't vibe with the entire community or ecosystem.
Purging.
Yeah.
And me being into, my athletic endeavors, you have to purge. You have to tear things. Literally, your muscles tear apart when you're building it. Your body is not put together. It's literally joints so that you can break. But why?
It really is.
And then it's like, how do you respond to a break in your body? Do you say, do you take that passive route? I'm gonna just let it heal, and I don't know what to do. Or do you say, hey, I know what to do. I know how to work it. When I tore my ACL in college, and you would think that it would be professionals that were there to help me train in order to get back in shape. many of them were going through training.
Yeah. That's how
You
they
know, many of them were going through
you got
training.
your whole, like, you got your whole future. You trying to wait, hold on. It's like only the best people working on this. They out here, they still learning what a metacarpal is. They like, hold on, let me see if I can wrap you up like this. Like, hold on a second, bro.
So I'm looking at them while they're trying to literally train me, and I'm like, this doesn't even feel right. Matter of fact, stop what you're doing. Do you even know what you're doing? Evolution comes when you know yourself. You can't help anybody evolve into something and you don't even know the physical makeups of their body and how to even be healthy.
Yeah.
And so mentally right now, we even healthy when we talk to people and we don't even have the answers for them, but still speak to them as if we do.
Preach, bro. A leader
don't
can
have-
only lead as far as he's gone.
Exactly. And if I don't have the answer to something, why not say I don't have the answer to that? You should find someone who can help you out.
That takes humility. Not a lot of us have that. Wow.
People would rather point you in the wrong direction than to say they don't know anything nowadays. And it's becoming a trend where, hey, I don't want to feel like I don't know anything, so I'm going to just speak anyway. But is that evolution of the mind? Because a fool speaks, but a wise man says nothing.
Man. You're hitting on a lot of really deep points right now, bro. How do we get to that point where we all have a sense of self, to where it's not something where we even have to go to someone to get the answers? Maybe it's something where we still depend and lean on each other to get different perspectives. But to get the answer, we should really start getting to a point where we can think for ourselves and say, this is the direction that I'm trying to head in. Maybe you can give me some resources, or maybe you have some ideas that can help me along that. But to just give your entire journey to somebody else and put it in their discretion.
I trust you with my body. I trust you with my mind. I trust you with my soul. To say that to another human being that doesn't even look like you, that doesn't even think like you, that doesn't even
know you,
behave like you.
That's why people don't know, man, because we don't have God. A lot of people don't have God. They don't have anybody to really talk to like that, because we are created to be almost dependent in some ways. But we should look at that instinct and say, what am I supposed to do with that? Because the way that a lot of us have taken that is it's manifested in codependence. And it's manifested in the sense of slavery, where you're dependent fully on another human being. The reason we have that instinct is because we're supposed to depend on God. We're supposed to have a connection with him. Because if we take that connection and then we give it to somebody else, that's when it ends up as slavery. Because we given the power that God had for us to a human being. And then we wonder why we're in this position.
So you mean to tell me I can do something starting off at 5 years old for the rest of my life? I can practice whatever that skill is, but I will not be a professional until I receive a piece of paper from someone else. Evolution of the mind. I question it, to say that, who is this person worthy enough to deem you the professional given a piece of paper?
That goes back to that thing I was showing you, bro, that I'm not going to share the screen again because I don't want to mess anything up, but it's essentially that idea that we had these structures that were based on, really, they're just based on status, and they're based on not necessarily having an interdependent and holistic view of each other, but on having this sense of, oh, that person's better than me. And we got to get past that. We got to get past that thinking, oh, that person is better than me. No. Yeah, we all have different skill sets. We all have different talents. We all have different capabilities, but that means that we are all under God equal, right? When, like, we're supposed to have this sense of, okay, I believe that I am excellent in this area, and that means I can offer my skills in this area. Or maybe this person has an expertise in that area. Let me see if I can offer my expertise and lean on them and their expertise. But to say that this person is just better all around is to deny your own divinity, is to deny your own godness, your own sense of what you're supposed to bring to the world. You're essentially saying, I don't really think I have anything to offer. So I'm gonna just defer to whoever says that they have something to offer. And that creates a system where you have psychopaths. Like, we have people who say they have all the answers, half of them don't even know anything. We have people that are in positions today because they're confident enough to be in those positions, not because they have the skills, but because they're charismatic and they're out loud enough, and they have the outward appearance of whatever that position is. You know what I'm saying? You have like these extroverted people who just climb their way through these structures and these ladders because they seem like they know what they're doing, so they must know what they're doing. Whole time, they don't know a damn thing, bro. Not a damn thing. And that's the person that's making decisions about what's in your kid's curriculum. That's the person that's making decisions about what to put in your body. That's the person that's making decisions about all of these things that are coming to a head right now in society. It's because we're deferring to people that we call experts that may or may not have our best interest at heart. We're deferring to all these government mandates when the only mandate that we really supposed to be receiving is from heaven. We deferring to all of these things that we should not be deferring to. And then we look at ourselves like, why is everything so messed up?
Am I evolving?
Are we?
And you touched on something when you said people view things as being better, and it's like everybody's in competition. And I heard something just scrolling on my Facebook, and it said, does the sharpness of a razor outweigh the sharpness of an axe? And to say that, why would a razor say, hey, I'm sharper or better than an axe? You try to use a razor to cut down a tree, it won't work. But you try to use an axe to shave somebody's face, is that really useful?
Right.
But it's like, which one is better? But then that's when wisdom comes involved.
Yeah.
It's not neither one is better, but which tool do you use for the assignment at hand?
Yeah. That's it. Because it's about using the right tool for the right job. You have a scalpel. That's what the surgeon is going to use to make the incision in your knee. He's not going to use, some rusty scissors, right? Or you're not going to use, as you said, an axe. You got to use the right tool for the right job. And a lot of what that incorporates is what jobs are we doing, first of all? And then essentially, what tools do we have at our disposal? All of these things kind of come to a head. Like, what tools do we even have to use, man?
Bro, evolution. What jobs are we doing right now that evolved, and what tools are we using? To say that talking is literally a job right now, where you can get a career just by having these conversations via Zoom, these tools that we have. Yeah. But we have evolved in a way where these tools have been able to help us or been able to harm us, depending on whose hand they're in. Now you have jobs as you can take pictures and make a career out of it. People can have an OnlyFans and make a career out of it. To say, is this evolution that the tools that are put in our hands, was it made for that?
It's like, yeah, man, like we have the capacity to connect to anybody all over the world. We have power from, electricity and hydro. We have all of these planes that can go and we have rockets that are throwing satellites in the sky. We got all of this technology, but what are we using it for? Because the average person is still depressed. The average person, you look at Africa right behind me, you got a whole continent of people who are starving without a place to live. So you telling me we got all this technology and we still got folks that don't have a place to live? Why does that not sit right with me? That shouldn't sit right with you either. It says that we haven't evolved mentally. We've evolved technologically. In some sense, we've even evolved physically. But our mindset to use the tools that we've been given to actually advance humanity is lacking. And I think that's a really great point. Like, man, that's a really great point. Maybe we might even end on that. I don't know if you have anything else that you really feel like you want to say, because that was a really good way to even think about, to frame the conversation, is the tools that we have and the way that we use them and the mentality that we approach them with. That really kind of sums up this entire topic of evolution, because if we don't evolve, then we can't use the tools that we got.
And to say, bro, I learned something today that I did not know. Memetic.
Yeah.
And just to see how it really played, like, I didn't think about it, bro. And to say I'm literally the person who thinks about everything. I didn't think about evolution of means in the jobs of what these tools and resources are available now and how it affects the way that we actually behave. I didn't think about that. I didn't, bro. Before we start having this conversation and engagement in it, I did not.
But that's why it's love, because at the end of the day, the more we connect, the more other people can connect, and the more we learn. And it's not just about learning from the teacher in the front of the classroom, it's about learning from each other. Because you know a lot of things that I don't. I might know some things that you don't. And by leaning on each other and continuing these engagements in a respectful way that allows us to really learn from each other, then we can continue to expand our mentalities. We can continue to expand our minds. We continue to become mentally healthy. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to get to, is this place of mental health and holistic health. So where we're not just depending on people because we feel like we don't know, but we get into a place where we can say, actually, I have something to offer the conversation as well. Man, I gotta say thank you again, bro.
Appreciate
thank you again. And thank you for helping me persevere. And
hey,
even though technology is crazy, you know, we got it. We gonna keep going, yo. We gonna keep it going.
Persistent, man. You gotta just keep on. We already got it. It's just now we just gotta keep on adding to it.
Yeah.
And bro, it's all coming together. It's all gonna add up to greatness.
Yeah.
It's all gonna evolve into what our goal is. And to say that, to start off small, a seed is put into the dirt. Nobody sees it. Nobody knows that something is even growing until it actually comes up out of the ground.
Yeah.
And
they
then
say faith of a mustard seed, bro. That's all you need.
Yeah. All of it. I need it all. and faith's all I need. I literally, and to express myself fully with the arts and music and writing and poetry and just knowledge, I live by it, bro. And to say that with faith, anything is possible, I could say that with confidence now because I've experienced it. So it's like, it's been an evolution for me. And not to say that I got all the answers, but to say that I can share my experience with another individual. And I thank you for letting me share my experience with you.
Man.
You know,
it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, honestly. And that's the same thing with me. I don't got all the questions, or I don't got all the answers, but maybe that's what I meant to say. I don't got all the answers, but I got a lot of questions. Hey, and sometimes those good questions is what lead to us thinking in different ways. And that's how we get to a place where we get to better answers. So, hey, if you made it all the way through all of our technological difficulties and in and outs and screen shares, we appreciate you. Much love. We're going to keep working to get this more more better.
Evolve.
Yeah, we gonna evolve with it, y'all. I think that if you stay patient with us, you're gonna see the evolution of this show, of this program, of these conversations, and you're gonna one day look back, oh, wow, I was there at the beginning when they was talking about this from day one. And so I thank you. I appreciate you. Once again, you can find Willie, Divine Lee, or you can check him out on Facebook. Make sure you check out his clothing brand, Faith and Desire. You already know what it is with me, bro. I'm just trying to figure life out as I go along, but you can find me on the Instagrams at Melchizedek. Find me Time to Grow, dude. I'm trying to build something out with that too, but we're going to see where it goes.
It's growing.
God's on the phone.
Yep.
Yeah. Much love to everybody. Peace. Stay up.